Welcome to our discussion on business development strategy in the production and events industry, where relationships, trust, and timing play a huge role.
Absolutely. It's fascinating how our sales cycle evolves with such a personal touch and real-world dynamics. Yep.
Right. So at the core, it's all about building and nurturing relationships. It's like you're not just selling a service, you're becoming that local production partner who really makes the client look good. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And that phrase, "our job is to make you look good," is so essential because it underscores that our service is about trust and operational fit as much as price. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of trust, the entire approach is built on being responsive and aligned with the buyer's operational needs. Think of it like you're a backstage crew meeting all those essential production details before the curtain rises.
I like that analogy. It's really about being the unsung heroes behind the scenes who ensure everything runs smoothly, right?
Exactly. Now, the process begins with awareness and familiarity. This is where you're popping up at shows, making appearances on social platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, and even Instagram, just really getting on the buyer's radar. Mm-hmm.
Right? And that informal outreach, whether it's word of mouth or even targeted cold outreach, is critical. The message has to be crisp and solve actual problems, not just be textbook generic.
That's so true. And once you're on their radar, then moves into evaluation and small trials. It's almost like, they must take a tiny leap of faith by testing you on a smaller gig, maybe a backup role or a mini show.
Yes, and during that trial, every detail matters, like being on time, prepared, and making their life easier with clear, short communications. Exactly.
Right. This is where your attention to detail really counts. It's like if you over-communicate just enough, like sending daily actuals by 10 a.m. to manage budgets, you build that accountability, which reinforces the value you offer.
For sure, and that kind of system not only builds credibility, but also makes your service sticky. It's all about demonstrating that you're reliable every single time.
Exactly. A successful trial goes a long way, triggering the relationship building phase. Now, you're no longer just the new guy on the block. Instead, you're a go-to partner on their crew list, and they're reaching out to you even before they finalize their labor needs. Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that transition. It shows that consistency and a proactive approach make you indispensable. It's like you get invited to the planning table, not just to play a role during the show.
True. And what's neat is that during relationship building, not only do you keep in touch between gigs, you also offer value by suggesting optimizations or even pointing out subtle gaps from previous shows. It's a continuous improvement cycle.
Right. And this is where the magic happens. You remain engaged, share insights, and yes, even offer respectful challenges when needed, ensuring that your client is always thinking, this partner really gets us.
Exactly. And on that note, while I appreciate the importance of offering your ideas, I do wonder sometimes if it's easy to overstep or come off as too pushy, even with the best of intentions. What do you think?
That's a fair point. It's a delicate balance, being proactive without overwhelming. One has to always read the room, ensuring to deliver feedback in a humble, helpful way, rather than as a criticism.
Right on. Balance is key. And then we reach that final sales cycle phase, long-term partnership and retention. At this juncture, you're rarely treating things as just gigs. Instead, you're part of their strategic planning. You get to help shape crew builds and even negotiate rate benchmarks.
Yes, exactly. The positioning shifts from vendor to trusted advisor. And once they see you as a permanent extension of their team, you're not just filling slots. You're actively contributing to their ongoing success.
Absolutely. It's about embedding yourself so deeply that they inevitably loop you in right from the early planning stages, which helps both sides manage budgets more accurately while optimizing crew performance.
And that ties back to the strategic messaging, reminding them that we stand on the principles of value, accountability, and transparency. It's not just buzzwords, they really have to live up to it every time.
Exactly. It's almost like a promise you live by. And one way to maintain that consistency is by being ever vigilant, whether it's through daily actuals or even post-show debriefs, where insights are shared to optimize future performance. Yeah.
Yes, those debriefs really are the heartbeat of continuous improvement. They not only help correct mistakes, but also highlight our strengths, reinforcing that we're in it for the long haul.
Exactly. And a neat point is that even when buyers challenge you with objections like "we already have a guy" or mention past bad experiences with labor companies, your response should be to emphasize that you complement rather than replace. You're here to support, and that kind of assurance really sets you apart.
Right. And it's crucial to note, as the strategy points out, that the pricing discussion often becomes a function of real value. It's like investing in quality. You may pay a bit more upfront, but the savings in efficiency and avoiding overstaffing prove to be much more valuable in the end.
Yep, that's a common battle many face. Yet, if you manage to articulate that value, like saving 10-20% on labor costs by being precise, it transforms the conversation from price to performance.
And that precision comes with really understanding the nuances, like regional differences, the unpredictability of talent pools, and industry dynamics. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach at all.
Definitely not. Each market and client has its subtleties. In some cases, the sales cycle might be as short as a few weeks if you hit the right moment. In others, particularly with larger production companies, it might stretch to 3 to 6 months. It's all about timing and consistency.
Absolutely. And that adaptability is essential. Always recruiting for new talent, being involved where your buyers naturally converge, and having that unified brand message that reminds them we're your local production partners really seals the deal.
And it's pivotal to remember that behind every strategic move, there's a human element, whether it's sharing a quick tip, showing up on time, or simply sending out that brief, effective message. It all reinforces the notion that you're here to make their life easier.
No doubt about that. And I find it particularly smart how the strategy emphasizes making the client's operational processes smoother from the get-go. It's not just about the gig, it's about laying the groundwork for a partnership that lasts.
True, it's a comprehensive blueprint that covers everything from the first introduction to becoming an embedded strategic partner. It's like building a relationship one show at a time, with each gig strengthening your credibility and trust.
Exactly. Each successful show acts as a stepping stone, gradually moving you from being a trial vendor to a trusted advisor. And let's not forget the power of subtle regional insights and industry news in influencing that cycle.
Well said. At the end of the day, our strategy isn't just a set of tactics. It's a mindset that blends value, proactive communication, and deep-rooted trust, ensuring we're not just seen as vendors, but as indispensable production partners.